Leo's insights are presented to challenge, inform, and encourage you in your quest to break free from school-based approaches to education. Building upon a foundation of unschooling, we sincerely hope these insights help you to consider how education can be truly unlimited.
In our last presentation, I showed how the family jurisdiction is different from other jurisdiction in that it is the only jurisdiction led by a true representative of God rather than a leader under God. If, however, the man decided that he wanted to be God rather than be his representative, the ordained family structure is threatened. Today I want to show how other rules or jurisdictions can also corrupt God's plan. To simplify things, we will look at just the jurisdictions of government and church and how they can influence family and each other in a negative way. To help understand what is happening, let's say that God is the president of each rule and that the king and leaders then occupy the vice president position under God. Let's also say that the king is not happy with being in second place, so he aspires to be president. If the secondary position becomes the primary position, God is bumped off, and the king is now in control of the citizens. If the leader or leaders of an institutional church do the same thing, the church is now at the mercy of its leaders. When God is disenfranchised or displaced, all checks and balances he has put in place are removed, especially the boundaries that keep the king and the church leaders within their own rule. Since both are envious of the special position the family has with God, it is understandable that both vie for a piece of that rule while also illegitimately encroaching in each other's. We find government overtaking the church, shrinking the church's true authority, and both working against the family. The objective and result is to remove God's influence. After all, this is a presidential takeover. However, God is actually not removable. He may not be acknowledged or followed, but he is still the ultimate authority and ultimately in control. The consequence of this overreach of government and church authority is the erosion of legitimate authority, particularly within the family jurisdiction. After all, if the king or the leaders won't acknowledge God, why would they acknowledge God's true representative? If the father of the family has acquiesced to the false claims and demands being made of him, he submits his authority to the government or church, allowing the structural order of the family to be attacked. We see this happening today, where churches take over spiritual training of the children. The world advances children as having greater wisdom than adults, while government feels it has to protect them from their parents. The results are predictable. With boundaries gone and the God-ordained chain of command ignored, the family and other jurisdictions fall apart. Institutions originally created to serve the family now insist on being obeyed and served. They employ all manner of techniques, including various forms of fear, doubt, guilt, intimidation, manipulation, through a host of platforms, particularly education and mass communications, ultimately resulting in confusion, coercion, and ultimately control. All of these are the opposite of how God intended his authority to be used. Since he has created us free, indeed, free to reject him, if that is what we want, the natural result of illegitimate authority will always be a loss of what he intended us to have, freedom. No doubt you have noticed that as a dictator claims greater authority, the freedom of the citizens is reduced. Similarly, a church bent on building their own little serfdom will tend to keep the flock in bondage, avoiding the teaching of things that work against it while manipulating the flock to believe it is free. The corruption and perversion of authority and power is seemingly limitless once boundaries are breached, and it is always at the expense of truth and freedom. So, what is God's ultimate plan? He will abolish all rule, all authority, and power.
We trust you were blessed by today's presentation. For more helpful information to guide you in your home education journey, please visit educationunlimited.ca and leogaumont.com. Be sure to like us and share us on Facebook.